It's that time in the show when we like to take a little survey. So is there anybody here that came to see that red hot black and white express? Survey says one more for the good guys.
Welcome to Fantasy Kingdom. I'm your host, Mikey, and as always, riding with me, Howie. How we doing, buddy?
We're doing good. We're doing good.
I guess when they say survey says one more for the good guys, that's how you're feeling this week.
I am feeling it.
As you walked away with our fantasy championship.
Number 5.
Yep. So you got me by one. You got me by one now.
Of course,
so,
the way I look at it, the way I told Jason was like, now that I've got 5, it takes him 2 to go ahead of me.
Does he have 3?
No.
You're talking about me.
Yes. You got to win 2 now to get ahead of me again.
Yes.
Oh, not again, because
I've never been ahead.
That's
I've never been ahead because you won our first 2 20 years ago.
I won the first 3 out of 4.
Yeah. And then it's taking you, 16 years to win 2 more.
Yeah, but my last few years have been championship, 4th, second championship. So that's pretty good. I mean, you got 3 just in the last few years.
Yep.
But I've jumped back in it, and it's like, okay, I'll play hard. I'll play hard now. And this year, I did
so you weren't playing hard. Is what you're saying?
There's a section of years there, where I was in North Carolina. I didn't care. 7th and 8th place, I didn't mind. Hell, when I was winning those first 3. I was giving you guys the money back.
Yep. Yeah.
So, I did it to stay linked up with you guys because I was all around the country and
yeah.
You
also helped you because you were 3 hours ahead of most of us.
And well, that helped that one time with
and you were streaming.
Johnson.
Yeah. As you stole a championship from me. As Priest Home goes down and you steal his backup before I could get him, who turns into being a superstar.
Well, I'm surprised we weren't playing waivers back then because it should have meant for something, because I got stuck in that a couple times this year where I went to pick up a guy and I had to wait on waivers and somebody else took him.
Yep.
Because they had a higher waiver point than me.
But we didn't do that back then.
No.
It was, but there was a lot of rules that you found little loopholes for that we had to close through the years. So, let's jump into Week 16's studs. When you look at the quarterbacks, it's a little odd, Howie. We had the top quarterback was Joe Flacco.
Absolutely.
I swear we're running back to 2013 when
I love it.
Old man Flacco.
I'm one of those guys who didn't start Cooper.
Oh, you left him on your bench?
Left him on my bench, but still won. Because it was him or Tyreek. How do you not start Tyreek if
you have to start Tyreek
if he's playing?
No, you have to start Tyreek.
And he got his point. He got his points. He just didn't get me 51 like Cooper would have.
Yeah.
51, 52, something like that. That was crazy.
That almost cost you too.
Could have. Yeah, I won by 9.4 points. And it was the Niners game that about gave me a heart attack.
Well, he had Ayuk and McCaffrey, and they got down to like the 1 yard line.
Yeah,
which would have really put a dent in you, but that's fine. Good thing the Ravens stepped up and saved it for you.
Yes, they did.
Derek Carr, Jordan Love were the top 3. So Flacco, Carr, and Love.
That's
honorable
crazy.
mention: recently benched Russ Wilson was in the honorable mentions this week.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with him.
That's
a big financial, foobar.
Well,
for him.
He was benched because of money, because of his contract, not because
absolutely. Yeah, it had nothing to do with him playing.
Josh Allen, and then Bryce Young. Bryce Young finally hit one of the. He played well this week. It's nice to see the rookie.
He didn't play terrible all year. It's just that as a team, there's no firepower there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was surprised to see Josh Allen made the honorable mentions, as he didn't do fantastic. It doesn't help that you have 3 turnovers on your opponent's side that gives them points.
Right. Well, he doesn't have to play fantastic. He just has to do his part, and Buffalo does well. Well, especially when he just does his part and not try to carry him on his back. Because every time he tries to carry him on his back, things go a little bit wankers.
Well, not every time, but a majority of the time. Often, yeah. You know, it's not. Well, he didn't have a ton of help this last week, as they didn't run the ball very well.
Right.
And you know, it was a Gabe Davis show, as for whatever reason, you know, Buffalo's passing game is one guy goes off and then everyone else just watches.
Well, at least they're taking what they're given now instead of trying to force it.
Yeah.
You know, they did a lot of that early in the season when they tried to force things, and that's when they ran into trouble. But it seems like now, okay, if you're going to give us the running game, we'll take the running game and we'll stay with it. Yeah. Whereas before, it was like they give you the running game and you say, oh, God, no, we don't want you to give us anything, you know.
Yep. All right, so let's get to the running backs. We had Breece Hall, who actually has done well the last few weeks. Christian McCaffrey, who's been, you know, a fantasy superstar.
Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs, who is along the lines of probably the rookie MVP this year for fantasy.
He's up there.
Yeah, he's up there.
I have a
different one.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that. Hunter Henry, or no, Derrick Henry, Connor, and Elliott, which that's more of the old guys. Yeah. You know, we've seen Flacco, we've seen Carr, we've seen Henry, we've seen Elliott. You know, Elliott's really taken off since Stevenson got hurt.
Yeah, I think last week I said something about it. He was the one to go to. You know, he was up for a big week.
And then wide receivers, obviously we talked about Cooper already, as he had the big 50-point game. Breece Hall had a 40-point game, and I went against the guy who had both of them.
Oh wow!
And I still won.
Wow!
I won by like 0.05 or something like that.
Oh, yeah, that had to hurt Steve.
Yep. And then we had Cooper. Then we had Pickens. Pickens showed up. Mason Rudolph, burst on the steams and threw it to Pickens, and he had a huge day. Puka Nacua, probably the real rookie MVP. Really,
that's really who I'm looking at because he's gone wire to wire.
Yeah.
Everybody else has had their moments. Laporta, Gibbs.
Yeah.
Who else?
Addison.
Addison a little bit.
Addison had some big breakouts.
But Puka from day one has been just the guy. You know, even after Kupp came back, we all expected his production to fall off, and
it never really did.
It didn't. No.
Yeah.
They actually worked good together.
Right, and then honorable mentions, we had St. Brown, DJ Chark, and Mike Evans. Mike Evans always just seems to put up big years.
Yeah.
You know, he's steady Eddie as they come, man. Tight ends, we only had 4. There wasn't a great tight end week this week.
No, it wasn't.
But we had Kittle, Chig Okonkwo. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Tennessee.
Yep. Ingram, and then Njoku as honorable mention. Everyone else was like under 15 points this week. So
I sat Ingram.
You sat Ingram for Laporta?
For Laporta. I mean, at the time it was like, he had the hot hand. But right. Ingram's been tough all year long. He's been steady. You know, he had maybe one bad game. I really like to see how he does this week without Lawrence there.
Okay. It will be interesting, as CJ Beathard's going to be in his spot. And then you have Nick Mullins got benched, and TJ Hawkinson's tore his ACL and MCL. Here's the worst part about that. TJ Hawkinson tore his knee up at the end of the season, so he's not going to be ready to be starter next season. He might miss all of next season too. That's a huge loss in the fantasy community for a tight end.
Oh, that's a tough call too. When you get down there and you think, well, do I want to pick him up and maybe have him the last 6 weeks? Or do I get him at all? You know, do you put him on your roster and hold them, or then get screwed because he just doesn't play at all? You know, it's one of those things. You know, like when you pick up a guy who's on suspension for 4 weeks, and you hope him to come back.
The difference is you'll be hoping to have him for the playoffs only, if he comes back at all.
Right.
And then what does he look like? Because it always takes guys a year or two to come back off of knee injuries.
And who have they replaced him with?
Yeah.
That comes into play.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. That's a huge loss, not only for the fantasy community losing a top tier tight end, but for the Vikings, who they just paid him a bunch of money, and now he's probably gone almost all of next year too.
I want to see
because it's 9 to 12 months recovery.
Yeah, I want to see what happens in Cleveland if Flacco takes them a step or two into the playoffs. Who's quarterback in there next year?
Watson with that contract?
Well, I know he's got the contract, but
Watson.
Yeah,
money talks in the NFL, brother.
Money
talks in the NFL.
I guess we'll see. But it's the talked this year, and all he did was like, ow, I'm hurt.
Yeah.
I'm hurt.
Well, that's what happens when you have $230 million guaranteed. Doesn't matter if you play or not.
I see Watson and I hear Mike Tyson.
Oh, Scott comes in and says, start Josh Allen or Brock Purdy in the Super Bowl. I'm starting Josh Allen. Josh Allen is the number 2 fantasy scorer in the league this year.
Yeah,
behind Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, fantasy-wise, you got to start Josh on that. Although Purdy might end up winning the Super Bowl because of the team he's got behind him. But if you're just going fantasy, you got to go with Allen.
Yeah. Purdy struggled last week bad. Purdy lost some fantasy championships for people last week. 4 picks, and then he got knocked out. And they had a chance to come back, and they kept him on the bench for Sam Darnold.
Yeah. Well, they swarmed him. I mean, that defense is no joke.
Yeah.
We'll see. Matter of fact, we'll see how Miami does against them tomorrow. That's going to be huge. That could tell everything. That game tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
The other game I want to see is Dallas and Detroit.
That's today.
That's today. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
good.
That's tonight's on ESPN.
Oh,
ABC.
all right. Yeah. That could be very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Another one I want to see is the Miami Ravens game.
Right. That was. Yeah. Those are the two this weekend that mean the most. Although the NFC South game.
Yeah, the Saints Buccaneers game
has the most in it to win or lose.
Yeah.
I mean, the other games, okay, win or lose, they're still moving on. But
the Texans-Titans game's going to be big for the South.
These are kind of win or go home type of games already. These are already playoff games, really.
Yeah. Buffalo, if we beat the Patriots, we almost clinch a spot.
Yeah. Well, you're in the number
6 seed right now.
You're in the 6th seed. And everybody behind you lost last week.
Yeah. So
the AFC South lost. And Kansas City lost.
Mm-hmm.
Raiders could unseat Kansas City if they go 2-0 and Kansas City goes 0-2.
Well, listen to this. This is a weird one. If Baltimore beats Miami this week and we beat the Patriots, next week is not only for the AFC East, but it's for the number 2 seed or the number 6 seed.
Yeah. That's a huge game next week.
But granted, the Bills have to beat the Patriots and the Dolphins have to lose to the Ravens, which is very possible, both of them. But it's also very possible one or the other happens. Either the Bills lose or the Dolphins win.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see. The Dolphins don't play well away from Miami. They play really well in Miami. Away from Miami, they struggle.
It's kind of like Cowboys.
Very much like the Cowboys. So it'll be interesting to see how they do against that Ravens defense, especially with no Jalen Waddle.
And it's going to really be wet. It's going to be wet and cold. I checked the weather report today, and right now the whole country is either wet or snowing.
Okay.
So and Baltimore is in that midline where you could get just a swampy, rainy day with sleet. Maybe a little snow. It's going to be as far from Miami as you could imagine.
Okay.
So I mean, if I was putting money on that game, and I don't put money on games because I only play this. The only gambling I do is fantasy.
Yep.
But I would think Baltimore right now is my go-to favorite. And I don't have a dog in the hunt.
Yeah.
My dog's ready to get chained and whooped tomorrow. After what happened to the Niners, I just it's going to get ugly.
Washington, not only that, but you guys are about to have a complete tear down again. I have a feeling
Rivera's
Rivera's
out. A good draft pick this year. I think we're getting second or third the way it looks right now.
If that's the case, you might end up with a quarterback because they were talking that Chicago might just keep Fields and draft Marvin Harrison Jr. number 1.
That's what I'm thinking.
Or they'll trade back with one of those 2 teams behind them and let them come up and get the quarterback that they want and then take Marvin Harrison Jr. there.
Well, I hope we can just get a good quarterback fall to us without trading away anything, and then in the later rounds work on our offensive line. If we can do that to protect them, you're going to get a new kid. You want to protect him. You're going to have a new coach. Like you said, complete teardown. So you want to, you want to have a little bit of something going on.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. Where do you think Russ ends up next year? Because there's not a ton of openings. I figure New England.
He could sign up as a backup with somebody, but he might be playing for the league minimum next year.
He's gonna get league minimum next year because he has an offset clause in his contract where whatever he makes offsets what Denver's gonna have to pay him in the offseason.
Right. Yeah, they're gonna pay him like $37 million
to walk away.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's just crazy.
What if the 49ers take Jerry Rice's son? I could see that. He fits that mold. He's the 6'3", 200-pound, guy who's fast. I can see him. Braden Rice, at USC. I can see him doing that.
Though I feel sorry for the kid because he's got to come in with a legacy behind him and prove himself. And he's just someone's kid,
Well, you saw that with McCaffrey. You've seen it with Randy Moss's kid, the tight end, who hasn't done much.
Right. Well, Jerry Rice was Middle Tennessee State or something like that. He was a nobody when he came into the league, and the team he came onto couldn't have been more perfect.
Yep. And that West Coast system.
Yep.
With Walsh and Montana.
The coaching, the quarterback, everybody they had.
Yeah.
I mean, half that team's in the Hall of Fame.
Right. It's crazy, but Trek, I'm with you on that. That's the type of stuff, because you saw it with Pittsburgh. They took Joey Porter Jr.
Yeah.
Former, linebacker legend for that team. Although he could be Gabe Davis's replacement, I would love to take Braden Rice as in the mid rounds. That would work for me. He's big, he's fast. He's not going to cost a lot in the middle rounds. There's a lot of guys that are above him. I'd still like to see the Bills take a wide receiver in round 1 and get one of the the elite guys coming out, and then maybe take him later on and grab 2 receivers. We need to rebuild our receiving core.
Yeah.
The only people that are going to be there after this year are basically Diggs and Shakir. You're going to say goodbye to Hardy, who hasn't done anything, who's going to save like $5 million on the cap. Davis is going to walk. Sherfield signed a 1-year deal. On and so forth. So, does he have better hands than Davis? I think anybody has better hands than Davis. Davis catches like 50% of the balls that are thrown his way. Career. I haven't done as much work, Trek, on Braden Rice yet, as I won't be picking up any of the draft stuff until after the year. We're still very much in season. So,
yeah.
But we'll get to the draft.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing a little bit of a pre-draft type of
content.
So, I mean, I'm already starting on my homework. So
good.
Which will be weird for me because I'm used to going for offensive players, that have to do with regular fantasy. But this year, I'm going to have to go in deep and look at,
teams and
tackles and defensive ends and, defensive backfields. And I'm good at homework and I got nothing better to do. So,
Trek Howie will be joining Tommy and I for the draft this year. So it'll be fun. Let's get into a little sit and start for championship weekend style for those that are still playing. When you look at it from a quarterback standpoint, would you prefer to go Matthew Stafford at the Giants or Justin Fields versus Atlanta?
I like Matt Stafford. He got me a championship. And right now he's got all the weapons and everybody's hitting on all cylinders.
Trek, I like Johnny Wilson. I think there are guys that are better than Johnny Wilson. Johnny Wilson is 6'7", like 230, wide receiver out of Florida State.
Man,
he's big. He's not as agile as you'd like for a wide receiver, especially someone who's that size. But I like what I've seen. We'll get more into it. And I haven't looked at Allen. He may end up turning into a tight end. And Allen, I haven't looked too much into. But a 245-pound running back, that's never a bad thing if you need a big bruiser.
No.
And
with running backs being at such a premium lately, a lot of the good guys are getting old. Mm-hmm. Like Henry,
mm-hmm.
And we don't have any of those monster type of running backs like we used to.
No, not the really big ones. Like
it's more slashers now.
Yeah, Dylan is a big one. Henry is a big one. But that's really it.
Yeah,
Dylan and Henry are the only that are really huge.
Yeah, they've gotten away from the big bruisers and more Swiss Army knife type of guys.
Yes,
they can do
the Cooks, the McCaffreys,
yeah,
Gibbs. They got they're more in the mold of the Marshall Falks nowadays than they are of the Riggins and Zonkas and those types.
Well, like offenses have gone away from that ground and pound. Although when they do get it this year, when teams have decided to pound, they've done really well. But I think that's because other teams aren't used to it.
Yeah. CMC. He's the fantasy MVP. Scott, if you have CMC, you start CMC all day. Bettis, Trek said Bettis was one. Eddie George was really big.
Right.
A lot. That was my era.
Williams.
Yeah. Ricky Williams. Even Larry Johnson. Larry Johnson was a big.
He was a big guy. Yeah. There's less and less of that. Peterson wasn't small.
No, Peterson was a big back too.
He was a big guy too, and that it seems like that was an era that's passed us by. You don't get the fullback type of thing anymore unless they're really going for
all-star.
Yeah. Look how long he played and how important he was, but he never scored a ton. But boy, it was great to run behind him.
Oh yeah, Antoine Smith. Antoine Smith was a big back too. Travis Henry. Yeah, those types of backs that weren't those pass catching backs. That was just. I mean, really, if you look today, Latavius Murray is one of those big backs. You don't find very many of them that are 6'3", 230.
Right.
240. You have your big quarterback who is normally that type of guy, and then you have a bunch of little slashers.
Yeah.
Because most of those guys who used to play there either play receiver, tight end, or defense now. They're like, nobody wants to play running back because running backs don't get paid anymore.
Right.
And
they take the most abuse.
Yeah. Yeah. They have the shortest shelf life. If you have that talent to make it there, very rarely do you find that in the running back anymore. All right. So I never thought I would ask you this. Patrick Mahomes versus Cincinnati or Brock Purdy against Washington? I never thought I'd have to ask if you would want to start Patrick Mahomes.
I don't. I think I would go with Purdy this week. I'm a Redskin fan. Anybody doesn't know that. I just think it's I don't know. It's going to be let's see. They're playing in San Francisco, so it'll be wet.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about it. Matter of fact, anywhere anybody plays this weekend, unless you're in a dome, it's going to have weather. So you might want to take that into consideration when you're setting up your lineups.
All right. I have Tua against Baltimore or Minshew versus Vegas.
I think I would go with Tua. Vegas's defense is really good right now, and then you take the quarterbacks against. I would go Tua. He's got more weapons,
okay.
And the Raiders are hungry. They're really hungry. Baltimore's wants to win.
They win, they clinch the 1 seed. Yes, they
they need to win, but they don't have to win.
No, they have to win. Otherwise,
the Raiders have to win or they're out.
The Ravens have to win or Cleveland catches them.
Right, but it's not going to knock them out of the playoffs. That's what.
No, but
what I'm saying.
It'll knock them out of the division lead.
Right,
You know,
and they could lose the bye.
They lose the bye. Like it's a
I
must
mean,
win.
there's a lot. There's a lot on the line,
Mm-hmm.
but they ain't going home if they lose.
No, the Raiders are going home if they lose.
Right.
All right, let's go to some running backs. Would you go Mixon at Kansas City? Or would you go Derrick Henry at Houston?
I would go with Mixon.
I would go Henry.
He's been solid the last few weeks, and Kansas City's run defense isn't that good.
You know, Ty Chandler versus Green Bay, or Chuba Hubbard versus Jacksonville.
I'm gonna go with Chandler.
He's been having a great couple weeks.
Been having good. Yeah, he's been doing real well. Yeah,
I got one in here for the chip. Zamar White, Singletary, or Ridley at flex full PPR. Honestly, I might go Zamir White.
Well, he probably is going to play over.
Jacob's already been ruled out.
Okay, then White's gonna.
Yeah,
White's the one. Singletary's hot and cold.
Yeah,
Ridley, you don't know what Ridley you're going to get.
And you have a backup at quarterback there with CJ Beathard. Zamir White looked really good last week. I'm going Zamir White this week.
Yeah, I like him too.
You know, and good luck in the championship.
Yeah.
You know, I hope you win. Okay, let's go. Would you go Zeke or David Montgomery? Zeke at Buffalo, Montgomery at Dallas.
Wow, that's two tough games. I mean, it's Zeke at Buffalo.
With the return of Daquan Jones for Buffalo, they're elite defensive linemen.
Buffalo always has trouble with the Patriots for some reason.
Always.
And I think you know what? I'm gonna go out there and say Zeke.
I would take Zeke too, as he's the lead back, and Montgomery has been losing more and more to Gibbs as the season's gone on.
Well, and Dallas.
Although you can run on Dallas
on this one, you can, but I think they're going to be out for blood on this one. You know, they got beat bad like the Niners did, and I think they need to come back and reestablish themselves. And I just got a soft spot in my heart for Zeke. This might be it for him.
He's the old guy.
Yeah, I love them old guys.
Thanks, guys. I got Darren Waller or Cole Kmet, Fields or Stroud. I'm thinking go with Fields and Kmet stack. If Kmet is healthy, because he got hurt last week.
He got a thigh. I think it's a thigh.
He left the game and didn't come back. I'm looking to see. Right. Cole Kmet's questionable. You know, here's the thing. I would go with Kmet if he plays. If he doesn't, go with Waller. And if Waller plays before Kmet, you go with Waller. You can't take the chance of not having points in the championship game.
Although Waller, you know, he's got the name. He's been great the last few years. But boy, the last few games, he can't hang on to the ball. I mean, there's been points where that would have broke the game open for them, and he's dropping it. So, I tell you what, if Kmet is healthy, I'd go with him without even blinking.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to check when they play, and you got to make sure of your injury report. If you can, what's her name, Stephania Bell. If you can catch her on ESPN and see what she says, that's who I'd go with. I love that girl.
Waller, you could drop Waller. You could drop Waller. Waller's got the nine. Is it the Niners this week? Who's Waller got this week?
They got the LA, the Rams.
Yeah, I'm not playing Waller. Depending on who's out there, you can look at a Tucker Kraft. You know, going against Minnesota. If you can get Trey McBride, pick him up right now.
Yeah,
he's been a stud.
Now they're playing the Eagles.
Yeah. Oh man,
that's a tough one.
Yeah, I would still take McBride over Waller. I would keep an eye out for Kmet. If Kmet isn't a go, I'd go with McBride.
All right.
I would drop Waller for McBride right now, though.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. If you can get McBride, get him.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's going to happen with Kmet, and definitely McBride I would go with over Waller at this point. Then I wouldn't. I mean, if it was the beginning of the season, I would have said Waller. But no.
Here's one for you. You're going to love this one. Austin Eckler or Aaron Jones?
Okay, Eckler's going up against
Denver.
Denver, and they're good against runner. You know, this is the first week in like 5 weeks that I've seen Eckler on the start list.
And I'm not starting him. Like they've done nothing
right.
since.
No,
since
and they've got no reason to really put themselves on the line. Now who is it? Eckler or who?
Aaron Jones at Minnesota.
If Jones is healthy, I would go win him. I mean, Eckler's one of my guys. He's a keeper. I'm going to keep him next year. But he hasn't been that guy from the last few years where he could catch the ball and take off.
He got hurt early.
Yeah,
he got hurt early, and he hasn't been the same since.
And he's dropped it. It's like he doesn't want to take that hit after the catch. You know, it's like he's hearing footsteps and he's dropping a lot of balls.
Is it business decisions, you think, because they haven't paid him?
No, I don't think Eckler's that kind of guy who's gonna tank just because he's not getting money, because that's not going to get him more money.
Yep.
You know.
Okay. Well, it'll be interesting to see where Eckler ends up too, because he's a free agent. So, one of the other question I forgot that was in here: Fields or Stroud this week?
I like Fields. Stroud's coming back off the concussion,
missing 2 weeks.
He's missing, and he's got a couple guys hurt too.
And you don't know what he's going to have.
Right.
It's hard to sit Fields, because Fields also gives you the running aspect.
You know what you're getting with Fields right off the get-go. You know, you've got him, and he throws to DJ Moore, and if Kmet's healthy,
he throws to Kmet.
And if Kmet's not there, they've got that other kid, Scott or something like that.
Yeah, Scott. Yep. Yeah. They also have Darnell Mooney.
Yeah. I would definitely go with Fields.
Like, Fields has done well enough that they're thinking that they may keep him next year and just draft a receiver rather than a quarterback.
Yeah.
Earlier this year, it was for sure that they were going to trade Fields away and draft a new quarterback.
And if Kmet is healthy, the Fields Kmet stack is a good stack.
Stroud's got Tennessee, you know, and what Tennessee team do you get? That's the problem. Do you get the good Tennessee or do you get the bad Tennessee? So,
right.
Yeah, if you could have the Field Kmet stack, that'd be fantastic. Okay, let's go to wide receivers. From a wide receiver standpoint, you going Ayuk or Puka Nuka?
Okay, Puka's
Nuka's at the Giants. Ayuk's at Washington.
Ayuk looked good last week. They didn't use him as much as they.
So did Puka.
They could. They both did. I played against both of them. In my championship, I played against both of them and beat them. I'm going to go with Puka. He's just you can't stop the kid.
He just catches the ball.
Yeah,
great hands.
I mean, I like lost his name. Ayuk. I like Ayuk. He got his points last week. Even though Baltimore was swarming his quarterback, he still got his points.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking for that, you know, but Puka gets his points every week. I think he's only gone under maybe once.
Okay.
And they're playing against the Giants, who really have nothing to play for. The weather's going to be terrible there. Go with Puka.
Here's one that you're going to love. Devontae Adams at Indy or DeAndre Hopkins at Houston?
Well, you are desperate. In the past, those two names would strike fear into people.
Yeah.
Last week, I think Devontae got 1.4 points.
They were both still drafted really high this year, too.
Yeah. I think I'd shy away from D-Hop. He's had one really good game with Levis.
Mm-hmm.
And Levis isn't back in, is he?
He is. It looks like he's in the show this week.
I'm going to go with Devontae. I have a feeling that they, like I said, in the Raiders situation, it's a win or go home thing. He's going to step up and he's going to say, "Hey, throw me the damn ball." You know,
all right.
Feed Zamir and throw it to Devontae.
All right. Would you go with Thielen or Scary Terry? McLaurin.
Let's see. Brissett's quarterbacking for Washington, probably. I would go with Terry this week because Baltimore's receivers got over on the Niners last week. Of course, they were, they had Lamar who couldn't miss. Herbert, Burrows,
all injured quarterbacks. Scott's fucking with us.
Oh.
Long-term dynasty wise, I'm keeping Burrow.
Yeah, I may not keep Herbert next year.
Depends whose coach is going to be, right?
Well, it depends on who, because I don't have a whole lot of guys. Everybody I drafted this year was keeper eligible,
and you dropped them all.
I ended up with one on the team and one on IR. And,
yeah, because you just streamed your way to a championship this year.
I love it. I mean, it's the first. I mean, I've done before.
Well, let's get wrong. It helps that your core is elite. Your core of 5 is elite.
Yeah,
that's why you were able to stream.
When you've got Tyreek, St. Brown, Olave, Eckler, and Herbert, who was hurt a lot. Eckler was hurt a lot, but my 3 receivers pulled me through so many games when I didn't have running backs. So yeah, my keeper core is good and still young enough to be there. I mean, I'll have Tyreek for another year or so, and then I'll have to work on him. But yeah, I mean, I went into this year with 5 really good receivers.
Yeah,
because I also had Williams, I had DJ Moore. It was like who had the hot hand that week, and I was able to play the matchups.
Yeah,
and my streaming was mostly running backs, kickers, and defenses.
Yeah,
I would carry. I'd have 3 defenses on my roster at some times. Let's see.
Dynasty SF question PPR. If Jacobs doesn't play, I have to start Khalil Herbert. Should I trade Goddard for Derrick Henry? For a Dynasty League? No. Derrick Henry's on his last legs. Yeah. Now, you are playing for a championship, so is it worth giving up Goddard for who's your other tight end? Oh, he put that in here. His other tight end is McBride, so he'd be able to start him every week next year, barring injury. I mean, I would rather have Derrick Henry than Khalil Herbert. That's for damn sure, because Khalil is running back 3 really in that group.
I wouldn't trust any of the Chicago running backs because you don't know which one they're going to go with, and they seem to go with a different guy each week.
The Goddard for Henry, if you're going for the championship, you do it because you want the championship. Goddard's not one that you're going to lose dynasty, meaning like kicking yourself later.
Yeah, Goddard, you can pick up Goddard in the 2nd or 3rd round next.
Not dynasty. You have to remember, dynasty. Everyone's kept. You only draft rookies.
Oh, okay.
So dynasty's a little bit different.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's been a lot of. I mean, the last couple of years, rookie tight ends have been just dropping from the trees.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a good chance you can get one next year.
Yeah,
like he says, if you're going,
and you have McBride, who is already there. So he'll probably be your tight end 1 next year, anyways. With who's fantastic. So I would make the deal for the championship. I would go with Henry over Herbert. I would take the gamble, but that's just me.
Yeah, because right now your running back core stinks.
Running back is Kyron, Chubb, Jacobs, and Herbert, and Chubb and Jacobs are both out. So I'd make the deal. Get Henry. If you can get Henry for Goddard, do it.
Yeah, because Henry's at least as good as Khalil.
Yeah.
At least, and
he has a higher touchdown upside. Yeah,
probably way better than him.
And you may have Henry next year too, one last year before he falls into just a late round stash. Right. Because depending on where he goes next year, he could have the Jamal Williams effect where he's just touchdown machine.
Right, and you're going to have Kyron for a few years. Yep. Chubb will be back.
Yep, Jacobs will be back. So your running backs are good. I would make the deal.
Go for the championship.
Go for the championship. I'd make the deal. For fantasy finals, I don't want to start Herbert. I don't blame you, brother. I would make if you can make that deal, I would make the deal. Herbert won the game, the rest have been bad. Well, here's the problem. Herbert has lost his starting job to Roschon Johnson.
And Dante and Deontay Foreman.
And Dante Foreman, when they all got hurt, came in and did fantastic. So
yeah. And they've got a running quarterback.
Dude, if Henry ends up in Baltimore next season, that's ideal. Because he won't get a ton of catches, but man, they run the crap out of the ball at the goal line, and he'll get a ton of touchdowns.
Yeah, and they're gonna want to keep Lamar healthy long term. Mm-hmm. So they're gonna need someone who's gonna pound it at the end zone.
Tyson, if you can make that deal, I would make the deal. Goddard is good, but he's also option 5 in that passing game, or 4. It goes AJ, and then it goes to Smith, then it goes the running backs, and then it goes tight end. So I would do it. He said my other options are Chuba Hubbard for a second, but I feel that's an overpay. It's absolutely an overpay. You're better off taking Goddard for Henry. Make that deal. Don't worry, Mike. I can't convince you into changing your mind into making the wrong choice. Yeah, Spence made talked me into bad changing my mind, and then he's like, "Man, I messed up." Yeah, I like Henry is on a huge decline. I think Henry's on a decline too. The problem is he's still better than his other options, and if he ends up in the right situation next year, he could be fantasy gold as a touchdown vulture.
And he's fairly healthy.
Yeah.
He hasn't taken any really bad injuries. If Kyler's gone,
I don't think Kyler's going anywhere next season. That's the thing. I think they've already committed to him. So the Kyler McBride, I don't care who the quarterback is. McBride is one of the best young tight ends in the game right now.
Right, and if they bring in a different quarterback, the quarterback's best friend is his tight end.
Tight end, yeah. Although I think Kyler's going to be there next year. Jay Warren or Ridley, full PPR. Ugh. I don't like either of those options.
I don't like Ridley at all because you don't know if he's going to show up or not. But Warren, at least he's getting play. You're getting rushing yards from him, and you get dinks and dunks from him. So I would go with Warren, but I'm kind of partial to him anyway. I've got a thing against Ridley, and I'm partial to Warren.
I don't like Ridley for the fact that he also has CJ Beathard going.
Right. There you go.
I don't like Warren either because he splits time, and you never know what you get out of that Pittsburgh. It's not a great situation. God, Connor, that's a horrible setup. That's a flip of the coin type of thing right there. You don't know. You make a decision. You pray that it worked out.
Yeah, you go with Warren, and all of a sudden Najee gets all the carries.
Yep.
That's the scary part there. But
you know what? I'd go Ridley. Even with Beathard. I don't trust that Pittsburgh backfield at all. Thanks for the advice. One more question. Any news about Chase playing? Listen, Chase talked a lot of shit this week. I'll be surprised if he doesn't play.
He was limited in practice the other day, but they're looking at him. He's like kind of day to day right now.
And they need to win. They need to win and to make the playoffs. So. Yeah. And he was talking a lot of crap. To talk that much crap and then not play is kind of,
His injury though has to do with reaching.
Yeah.
Reaching out, like my shoulder's screwed up and I can barely lift.
Yeah.
And he's got that right in here.
The AC joint.
Yeah, and that's a. I mean, they can alleviate that with pain, and maybe some cortisone or something, but it's still hurt. He's still hurting. I guarantee you, if he wants to reach for a cup of coffee, he's going out.
Yeah. Ben, you said you think Arizona's taking Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't think he's going to make it to Arizona. The news coming out of Chicago is they're not going to take a quarterback. If they don't take a quarterback, that means they're going to probably take a wide receiver. And you put DJ Moore and Marvin Harrison Jr. on the same team. Man. With Justin Fields throwing him the ball, and Justin Fields was his quarterback, a few years ago.
Yeah, that makes Fields look yummy next year if they get him. Oh, I would be. Jeez. Yeah, that you know what? There goes Herbert out the door, and Fields come on in.
If Marvin Harrison Jr. ends up in Chicago, That's a juicy wide receiver duo too.
Yeah, with Kmet and whoever's running the ball.
Yep. Most likely be Roschon Johnson and Foreman will most likely be the ones that are running the ball. Roschon's a rookie. Tyson comes in and says if Chase does play, start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, 0.5 PPR. Chase, Higgins, Devonta, CH. I'm going Higgins, Devonta, and CEH, regardless.
Yeah, because you just don't know what you're going to get with Chase.
From Chase. If he plays, he's going to be more decoy. So I'm going the 3. I'm going Higgins, Devonta, and CEH, regardless. I don't care if Chase plays or not. I do like the Pats. I do like how the Pats are playing themselves out of a possible franchise quarterback. Me too, Spin. I love the fact that they keep winning. Keep winning, guys. Just not this week. Lose this week and next week.
Yeah.
You know? AC joint injuries have been going around the league like the flu this year. They have. And people are playing through them. Yeah. You know? PPR pick. Aaron Jones, Chuba, Javonte, or Zamir White. I've already talked about this a little bit. If I have to pick 2, I'm probably going Aaron Jones and Zamir White.
Yes.
I love Zamir White this week.
Right. And Aaron Jones is really a huge part of their offense.
And he catches the ball a ton.
Yeah.
Chuba is, is hit and miss. And Javonte, they now have Stidham as their quarterback. So who knows what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
If Russ was playing, I might say go Javonte. But without him,
yeah.
I'm going Aaron Jones and Zamir White.
Yeah.
What does it have to say if Marvin stays in college next year? He got a boatload of cash. That's what it says. Because the only way he stays is if they give him a boatload of cash. Because he also lost his quarterback. But here's the thing: he didn't play in the bowl. He's going pro.
He's going pro.
He opted out of the bowl. He's going pro. His high school teammate quarterback transferred.
Yeah.
He knows he's going pro. There's no way that guy transfers if Marvin's staying.
Playing another year in college for somebody of that caliber is just like playing Russian roulette.
Well, it's all about, because you have to remember, now that the NIL money, if they some of them will make more money in college than they will as a pro.
Yeah, but you get hurt in college and you're done for the pros.
Yeah. So
if you get hurt bad enough.
If Marvin stays, that means he got the bag to stay in college. Although I can't see him staying in college with a toss-up at who's going to be his quarterback, when he's going to be a top 3 pick this year in the draft. So, all right, Howie, we did a bunch of set starts. Let's get to the end of the year awards. Who is your MVP this year?
I'm going to go with Puka Nacua.
MVP?
Oh, no. Rookie.
That's rookie, yeah. MVP?
MVP, I got to go with McCaffrey.
Yeah, I would agree. McCaffrey is definitely the MVP this year. He's actually for the first time in many years, he's the first position player to lead all fantasy scores.
He's the only player that scared me every time he got on the field.
Really?
That would make me worry. Allen was up and down, as good as he is. Tyreek is completely Tua dependent, and CMC just did it all.
Yeah.
I like I said, there's nobody else. Well, maybe Lamar is a little spooky for me. I mean, I wouldn't want to play against Lamar, but I certainly wouldn't want to play against McCaffrey. I was scared to death last week. I mean, he kept doing things, and I was like, chink, 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 chink. There goes my points, and could have easily knocked me out of the championship. Plus, he's just done that every week.
Yeah,
leads in touchdowns, leads in points,
leads everyone in overall. He's scored in a PPR league. Let me get to the PPR league. 378 points. The next closest is Josh Allen at 363. So he outscores quarterbacks in a passing league.
Yep.
The top 5 in fantasy points this year through week 16. McCaffrey, Allen, Hurts, Tyreek, CeeDee Lamb.
Wow.
There's only 2 quarterbacks that are in that elite company.
It's about time.
You know.
I mean, I know quarterbacks are important, but
yeah, CMC is a TD machine with yardage production that works. And not only that, but if you have him in PPR, he catches 5, 6, 7 balls a game. That's extra points.
And when he catches a ball, it's not for 2 yards. It's boom, see ya.
Yeah, but he catches like 7 balls, and he'll run for 90, catch for 80, have 7 catches and 2 touchdowns. Yeah. It's crazy. Okay, so who is your rookie of the year?
Puka.
I
got him. I mean, I like Sam Laporta.
Like Stroud.
Yeah.
Gibbs.
I really like Stroud, but he was out so much that that kind of takes him out of it. I mean, Nacua just wasn't.
He had a chance to win it, but missing 2 weeks pushed him from like a top 5 quarterback finish to like number 14.
Yeah.
So what happens when you miss 2 weeks?
Yeah, because early in the season,
what? No, Dalton Kincaid. It's conspiracy. Dalton Kincaid is one of those guys that you keep from a dynasty standpoint. He's one of those young tight ends that like if they would have used Kincaid the way they used him when Knox was out, I think Kincaid could have had a better showing. The issue that we have with them is as soon as Dawson Knox came back, they took his route tree and made it within the 5 yards again, which I hate. Yeah. The fucking 12 personnel. I hate it. Kincaid suffers from being a rookie on the Bills. And having another tight end there, and Dawson Knox, who the Bills like.
Yep. And now maybe had you guys made that change at offensive coordinator right at the beginning of the season, Kincaid might have had a much better season. But
I don't think so.
3/4 of your season was just coin flips.
Yeah. And I don't think so, because the second Knox came back after his injury, we went right back to 12 personnel. And, the Bills aren't a 12 personnel team. They play better in 11 personnel, but for whatever reason, our coaches don't see that. So it is what it is. Just win and then survive in advance. It's the NCAA motto at this point. At this point, I don't care about, stats. I care about, getting the first Super Bowl. Just win, baby, as Al Davis would say.
Get that first one, and
we can talk about stats next year. Let's get our first championship.
Well, what's going to happen with the Bills if they win it. It's going to be like most championship teams. They'll just blow the team up and say, okay, we got our championship. Let's go start and let's get rid of all this payroll and bring in new guys.
They're doing that anyways at the end.
It's the old Charlie Finley move.
They're doing it regardless if they win the Super Bowl this year or not. We're at that point in our build that it's time to start letting guys go.
You guys are missing. This is the last window. The window is closing, and
for this team, like the window could open again next year. But so it's the last chance for this team. So you have like Hyde and Poyer that are probably going to be gone. Trey White's probably going to be gone. And then on the offense, Gabe Davis is going to be gone. So, you're going to see a lot of these guys start taking off that were, core guys here for a lot of years, and you're going to have to replace them. You're going to see more so on the defensive side of the ball than on offense. We're going to have some receivers. Our 5 starters on the offensive line is going to come back, all 5 of them. Quarterbacks coming back, running backs coming back, 2 of our top 3 receivers are coming back, but the rest of them are all going to be replaced. Both of our tight ends are coming back. So the offense is good. You're going to see a big change on defense.
The infrastructure is what you're going to rebuild.
Yeah. And it's going to be infrastructure on defense. The offense is pretty much there outside of the receivers. So, all right. So we did MVP. We did Rookie of the Year. Who is your breakout player this year? If you think about it, who went from okay to wow, he looked really good this year?
I got to go with the 2 tight ends, Laporta and McBride. They kind of jumped. They Laporta went in with more fanfare, but turned out to be really good. And McBride, who knew who he was, and all of a sudden, boom, he came on real hard. Who else?
Mostert.
Mostert had a good year, but when he was with the Niners, he was dangerous. You got the ball, you get around the outside.
He wasn't like what he was this year.
No, but he did. I think
Kmet,
that whole team.
Kmet's a good one.
Yeah, he's a good one.
Yeah, Kmet's a good one.
It's mostly your tight ends that really shined this year that came out of nowhere.
Nico Collins. Nico Collins was one that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, not out of nowhere. Now he was one of my big boys. I was pushing
but
him. But
he wasn't that elite.
No.
He wasn't that known guy. Nico Collins was a good one. He came kind of out of nowhere. So of all those guys that we just mentioned, Hockenson started making, he had a fantastic year. Hockenson was like the number one tight end for a long time this year.
And he was good last year.
And he was good last year. So of this year, of all those guys that we mentioned, who is the one that you would pick as the breakout player of the year? Of all those guys that we mentioned.
I like Laporta.
Okay. And I like Mostert. Mostert had the most fantasy points of any.
Oh, yeah. He tore it up.
Outside of McCaffrey.
I guess what I'm doing is I'm thinking of
I'm not thinking of rookies.
Yeah, right. I'm thinking of the younger type.
Yeah, I'm just thinking as a fantasy as a whole. That wasn't. Well,
Mostert, I put him like second behind McCaffrey.
Oh, on MVP?
Well, yeah, overall, it's just like, geez, they're only a couple touchdowns apart. I think McCaffrey got him on yardage.
And catches.
Yeah. But I mean, that's why I put him behind McCaffrey.
You know who else is one? Kyren Williams.
Oh, yeah, Kyren Williams.
Kyren Williams came out of nowhere.
But he was hurt a little bit at the beginning of the that anytime you get hurt and you're out for a few weeks, that really impinges on end of the year labels.
Yeah. Yep. But it's just a Jerome Ford, surprise guy out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Had a fantastic year.
He came out of nowhere.
Yep. All right. So who is your top quarterback this year?
The guy I liked watching the most was the guy I hated watching was Sam Howell. He's tough. I mean, anybody who can take that many sacks, get back up, and for a while lead the leagues in yardage. I really enjoyed him. But other than that, I would have to go with Lamar. Lamar's he's so smooth the way he can bounce. Like you almost got him tackled and boom, he levitates 3 yards away from you.
And you have to remember, we're talking about fantasy-wise, not just like who you like watching.
Well, fantasy.
Fantasy, Lamar is 63 points behind Allen. He's 40 points behind Hurts.
Well, points is one thing.
Isn't that what you're going for when you're talking about fantasy?
40 points over a season. That's like
3
points a game.
Week 1, Lamar had 7.6 points, 22 points, 28, 10, 18, 33, 12, 11, 15, 24, 15. And then last 3 weeks, he's gone really well. Like, he struggled in the middle of the season with low fantasy points. And that's my concern with Lamar. And
Allen early struggled with interceptions.
12, 23. Even with his interceptions, he still had 20-plus points almost every week. Even with his interceptions.
I know you want Allen.
I'm looking at it from a fantasy perspective. I'm looking at it from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah, I'm not.
Or a fantasy show.
Fantasy. I mean, you asked me which quarterback that I like watching the most.
No, I asked you who is your QB1 this year. Who was the best quarterback this year in fantasy? That was the question.
Oh God! I mean, with production, you can go by stats all you want, but the thing I don't want to say, production-wise, Purdy was pretty damn good.
Purdy was number 5, yeah. Purdy had 2 really bad games. In week 6, he had 8.7, and in week 16, he had 6.4. Outside of that, Purdy was about as steady Eddie as they came.
Yeah, he's definitely. They're going to make a movie about that kid one day.
I think Jalen is probably the most steady Eddie of them all, though. outside of one bad game where he had 8.9, and that was against Dallas a few weeks ago, he was about as steady as they came.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's got more. I think he had the most end zone touchdowns of anybody.
And
that's that stupid push thing, you know. But yeah, he probably hurts.
Yeah.
If you're going to go statistically and with wins and everything, if you're going to mix, you know, if you're going to take stats, you got to mix wins in with it. And Hurts was solid, you know.
Do you consider wins a QB stat?
Yeah.
I see. I'm on the opposite side. Wins.
Well, I mean, if you don't make the playoffs, your quarterback was not the best quarterback.
Yeah. And the reason why I say that it's not a QB stat is because the quarterback can walk off the field with the lead and the defense can give up the game.
That's true. But how many times did that happen? Say for the Bills. I mean, I know this is what we're arguing.
5 times this year. 5 times this year that happened. Josh walked off the field with the lead and the defense gave it up 5 times. Yeah. 5 of their 6 losses, Josh left the field with the lead.
Yeah.
So
you're not going to get me to go Bills on this one. I'm sorry.
I'm not. It wasn't Bills thing. I just want to know where you felt on the QB wins as a QB stat.
There was some really good QB play this year. I mean, hell, I almost have to break it down. You know, different games guys played.
Almost different quarters of the season is kind of how it's set up.
They had their own little dominance at different times. You know. I mean, Purdy was steady Eddie, but they lost 3 games in a row. You know, and they're supposed to be great, and then they get carved up by Baltimore.
Yeah, carved up too. That's the best way I've heard anybody's call it.
It was surgical. You know, I mean, the Baltimore's defense swarmed him so bad that 2 of those interceptions were knockdown passes. They weren't even real. You know, what you would normally consider. And Stafford, I liked it. Yeah.
Stafford had a great year too. The problem with Stafford is he missed time in the middle of the year.
Yeah, yeah. That hurts. That hurt him like it hurt Kyron. But look at their team. Here they come.
Yep.
You know, they're them and the Bills are 2 teams I wouldn't want to trifle with.
And right Cleveland. You gotta throw Cleveland in there. Cleveland is playing their asses off.
Yeah.
Okay, we talked about running back. We know McCaffrey and Mostert were the top backs. So let's go to wide receiver. Who is your top wide receiver this year? It's the easy call.
Well, I don't think he was on my team.
He is on your team. The easy call.
Tyreek.
Tyree is by far the top wide receiver this year.
Right. Well,
but let's just take Tyreek out of the equation.
Then I would go with CD.
CeeDee Lamb. Okay, that's who I would have gone with too. And you know who had a quietly really good year was Mike Evans. He was wide receiver 3 this year.
Yeah, he has a decent year every year. And, you know, he doesn't have a whole lot of competition. He's got Godwin, and he's the go-to guy, and he's big, he's tall, he's strong. He's got experience. He's, you know, I don't want to say being the old guy, but he's so experienced he can get in a position to get that catch. You know, Tyreek is definitely, you know, he's the cheetah.
You know who else had a really quiet year that no one talks about is Keenan Allen. You know, he ended up as wide receiver 5,
even with his injuries.
I know he ended up as wide receiver 5 this year.
Can you imagine how well he'd have done if Herbert would have stayed healthy, Eckler would have stayed healthy, and Williams would have stayed healthy? 3 guys off my team.
Yes, Spence says makes me want to puke when I have to say Tyreek Hill's name. That's a Bills fan right there.
I got him on how much did it cost me? It was I think a first and a second round pick to get him a few years ago.
Yeah,
and that was the best money I ever spent.
And I believe that was at right around the same time as you traded Patrick Mahomes for 2 firsts.
Yeah, I did. I picked Patrick Mahomes up the last pick of the draft. You know, nobody knew him, and I said something to you about him, and you go, "Well, he throws a lot of interceptions. He's kind of a gunslinger."
He did.
And I likened him to what's his name from Green Bay, Favre.
Yeah,
he was a little bit like Favre because he would just wing it, you know.
Except
so I liked him.
He's actually more surgical than Favre is. Allen's more Favre gunslinger than Mahomes is. Mahomes, is more surgical than that.
But Mahomes, you know, I don't know.
Except this year.
lately he's showing too much emotion. They're getting in his head.
His guys are getting into his head.
Well,
catch the damn ball, man.
His guys, everything, his fame, everything is kind of, the pressure is starting to build. And they've done so well the last few years that at some point you start going downhill. I don't care.
Always go Bills. Let's always go Bills. Spectrum says Mahomes doesn't have an interception problem. He only has 14, unlike interception Happy Allen, who has 15. Yeah, that's the media narrative. It is what it is. They all those top quarterbacks have double-digit interceptions this year.
Sure.
In a league that you throw the ball as much as you do, you're gonna have interceptions. It's gonna happen. Okay, so let's go to tight end. Who is your top tight end this year?
Well, for the first time in a long time, it wasn't Kelsey.
No, Kelsey's had a rough year. On the field. Off the field, he's having a fantastic freaking year.
Well,
but on the field,
Kelsey's got that old boxer's problem, No sex before a fight, Let's see.
I'm with you.
Best tight end. I really like. Well, Hockenson was good.
Hockenson led all tight ends in fantasy points this year.
Did he?
Yeah. Like Laporta was such a game breaker. He was tight end 3 this year.
Right.
Kittle came in tight end 4. Yeah. Kittle came in tight end 4. Njoku came in tight end 6. Njoku's come on the last few weeks.
The last few weeks he's been the top guy.
And I shouldn't say
top tight end for his team.
The last half of the year. The last half of the year. And really, that's a Joe Flacco thing. Flacco came aboard and all of a sudden, he took off.
Yeah, everybody on his team is doing well because of Flacco.
Yeah, Mark Andrews was really good until he got hurt.
Right.
Andrews' injury really put a ding in him. Dalton Kincaid ended up in the top 13. He's number 13.
No,
I can't. That's surprising, considering he's at a 0 and a 1.7 the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, a lot of the tight ends have had. Not everybody has, solid week every week.
Yeah.
Even Kittle. Look, Kittle will go 30 points and then almost 0. Kittle out of the group, I think he's the best football player.
Yes, the best all-around player is Kittle. The best fantasy player this year was Hockenson, but Laporta as a rookie is going to just continue to soar. Yeah. And they use him so much, and
they do.
I'll be interested to see what happens when their offensive coordinator becomes a head coach and they lose him. What does that do to that whole offense?
Yeah. Well, they've got a little bit of a wealth problem there in Detroit. They've got so many receivers. It's and they're using them all.
Yeah, me and you both spend. Wish we used Kincaid like Detroit uses Laporta. For whatever reason, we don't do that. We let them run little 5-yard routes, and that's it. But the Bills want Kincaid for check down safeties for Josh. Yeah, I don't get it. Don't get it at all. Okay,
that's the old way of using a tight end.
You're gonna love this one.
It really is.
Who's your top kicker this year?
Oh, the kid from Dallas,
Aubrey. Yeah,
Aubrey.
That kid is.
I don't think he missed one.
He hasn't missed yet. The kid is a stud out of nowhere. Outside of Aubrey, Dustin Hopkins was the next top. And then Justin Tucker was third for the first time.
Wow. Sanders had a good year. At least he finished off for me good.
Mr. Grateful comes in and says, yo, fellas, PPR flex. Should I go with Puka or Zamir? Puka all day. Puka all day. I love Zamir, but Puka is the man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And against the Giants, and everybody on that team's healthy right now. So the Giants, there's too many people to cover.
Yep.
That could be a bloodbath.
Oh God, yeah, it can be. Okay, who's your top defense this year?
Cleveland.
Cleveland ranks number 5 in points.
Wow.
It goes Cowboys, Baltimore are tied, and then it goes Miami, Raiders, Cleveland.
Ain't that?
But in
something?
real football, Cleveland is probably the best defense. They are
Cleveland's
studs.
not the team you want to go against.
Dallas has that one guy who has like 6 or 7 pick sixes. That's
Right.
why they're sitting at the top from a point standpoint.
Clanton or something like that. Yeah. That helps their stats a lot. But that's an example of where stats push a team.
Oh, it's a difference between real football and fantasy football.
Yeah.
Fantasy football, you want those points over the players, and the Cowboys have a better chance of getting touchdowns with the pick six than the rest of the teams. Like overall, Cleveland is the team who has the best chance of shutting people down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been. I thought the same thing. I thought Puka was fantastic when Cooper Kupp came back, but Cooper's been injured like the whole year. That's the thing. Like even now, he's still nursing an ankle. Yeah. So
Puka was wire to wire though.
Yeah.
Even when Kupp came back and he was healthy, it was just he's everywhere on the field.
That's right, Trek. Dustin Hopkins was a draft pick of the Buffalo Bills. He got hurt in preseason, and we brought in who was it? I want to say it was Lindell. Was it Lindell? We brought in somebody. I can't remember who it was. And then he ended up getting cut. And then he moved on. And then we brought in Hauschka after that. And, but yeah, Dustin Hopkins was a draft pick of the Buffalo Bills. We brought in Hauschka after the year after, Spen. I believe, because we had to bring some, because Hopkins was going to win the job and then he got hurt. And then we brought somebody in. I can't remember who it was. Hauschka was after that. But then we drafted Bass, and he's our kicker now. So, all right, Howie, that is our fantasy year-end awards.
Yeah.
With that, any last minute advice for anybody who's in a championship league this year that you think they should keep an eye on before we wrap this thing up?
Well, if you're in your championship and your team is healthy.
Thank you. It was Carpenter that we brought in.
If you're in championship and your team is healthy, don't overthink it. Go dance with who brung you. You know what I mean? Don't say, oh, well, maybe I should do this or maybe I should do that. Go with the guys who got you there.
Here's a question for you, Howie. Non-PPR league, should he start Pollard or Warren?
Pollard has not been that good.
But Jaylen Warren is sharing time.
I understand. Yeah, Pollard.
And you're not going to get the catches from him. So I'm probably going Pollard this week from a pure running standpoint because you don't get the PPR catches. But Pollard hasn't been good at all. Neither one of these guys have been great.
No. At least Warren's excuse is he's sharing time. Yeah. Pollard has no excuse.
Yeah.
He's just
But if I don't get catches, I'm not going Warren. I'm going Pollard.
Pollard made his bones when Zeke was on the team and you had Thunder and Lightning going.
Yeah.
And Pollard was great with that. But he doesn't have that person to bounce off. I'm going to stick with Warren on that one.
In a non-PPR league? You think he's going to out rush Pollard? Because you have to remember, you're not getting the catches. That's why I'm going Pollard. Pollard is going to see more carries.
Let me channel the football gods. This week, Warren will outscore Pollard.
You're crazy.
Or I will start off next season with a pepper.
All right. There you go.
Mark it down.
Yep.
George, if I screw you in your championship,
that's going to be our that's going to be our X factor or tiebreaker. I'm going to take Pollard. You're going to take Warren.
Okay, yeah, because we did finally tie.
I
made a run in the last three weeks of the season.
Yep.
And
so that's going to be our tiebreaker.
But you guys,
Pollard versus Warren.
Remember, when you're picking between me and Mike this year, just remember.
Yeah, it must be rough to have Tyreek Hill, and St. Brown and Olave in your back pocket. It must be tough.
That's what you call management, dude.
But it's all good.
I have mismanaged many a team.
Yeah.
And if I would have
your background messed up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did. We won't worry about that right now. but I've mismanaged a lot of teams.
Mm-hmm.
This was the year I could have really mismanaged. I mean, let's go back to the draft. I picked 31st in the draft. After everybody picked over all the good, the studs, my first pick was Rachaad White. My second pick was Zeke. So, okay, what's this one? Pollard, Zeke, CEH, Henry, or Zamir White? Pick two. Zamir.
I'm going Henry and Zamir.
You're going Henry and Zamir. Yeah, Henry and Zamir.
Because CEH is playing along with
Pacheco's coming back.
Yeah, with Pacheco. Zeke has a rough matchup, so I'm going Henry and Zamir this week.
Yeah. My first instinct, which made me laugh, was I was going to say Pollard, but I just got done ragging on him. You know what? I'm gonna go with the Z brothers. I'm gonna go with Zeke and Zamir.
All right, go with Zeke and Zamir. I'm going Henry and Zamir.
I mean, I want Zeke to do well. I hope his team loses, but I think he's gonna have a good game because the team he's playing against can be run on.
Yes, it can. October 19th, Hopkins was named the starting place kicker over Ryan Lindell. September 2nd, Hopkins was revealed to suffer a groin injury. This prompted the Bills to sign Dan Carpenter. There we go. Hopkins was placed on injured reserve week 5, and then he was released the next year. That's right.
And Lindell went on to sell a lot of pillows.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, Howie. That ends our episode here and our season this year. It was a fantastic season. Thanks everyone for riding with us. Howie and I will be back throughout the off season, randomly doing videos and some lives on some rankings. So we'll have a little bit of fun as we do this. I wish you guys all the best for those that are still in the playoffs, trying to win your championships, including me. I'm in one right now. Yeah, Carpenter was good. He was a good signing, and he ended up being really good for us for a long time. So it happens. For Howie, I am Mikey, and we will see you guys next time.